The way that he treats you, the way that he speaks to you, the way that he shows up for you as his wife clearly sends a message out there to his family of how his wife can and should be treated, in my opinion. And it's our anniversary. Hey, anniversary. Oh, it's our anniversary. Hey, anniversary. Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and thank you so much for joining me yet again. If it is your first time here, and on this channel, believe it or not, after what you've just seen, we chat about all things related to managing your money and adulting in general. So if that sounds like your type of vibe, please make sure that you check out our other videos. If you happen to like what you see, don't hesitate, smash the subscribe button and become a member of the team. As you might have guessed by my subtle hint in the beginning, it is our anniversary. And we are approaching the 2-year mark this week. I'm really excited about it. And I decided that this week I want to speak about my kotizaring journey, my journey of Ukuba nguMakoti in the Mujapilo family, and what I've taken away and what I've learned from that entire process. Now, guys, if you are new, which a lot of you are, I have a Becoming Mrs. M series on my channel. I'm going to link it in the cards, where I basically spoke about all things getting married, and I took you guys along the journey of the planning, the saving, the budgeting, the choices, the drama, the conflict. A vlog here and there of the experience as well is on there. And last year I did a reflection video that I put on the playlist as well, where I spoke about some of the best marriage advice that we received from people that we implemented in our marriage and really helped us move the dial in the first year. And I thought I would this year do another reflection video. It's now 2 years. Can you believe it? When I looked at the previous video that I did, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is like almost 12 months ago that I actually, published this video. Time flies, guys, especially when you're having fun and you're in love and all of that stuff. And I thought I would do another reflection video and just touch on the kotizaring part. Now, it would be stupid of me to assume that everybody knows what Ukuba nguMakoti is and what kotizaring is. I know that there's a lot of people who really support my channel, who do not speak vernacular or understand African culture and what happens there. So quick one, UKUKOTIZA or Uba nguMakoti is basically the part of the marriage process where you then start building relationships and how can I put it, basically building relationships and learning about the family culture and almost like serving or building like proper family bonds with your in-laws. So it's almost like the in-law newlywed wife type of relationship where you go to that family, you spend time there to learn about the culture, to learn about their traditions, the way they do things, who's who in the zoo, what are the expectations of you, if any. And in some cultures there's also a uniform to identify that type of bride from others, so that everybody sees that this is a new bride who's still finding her feet, who's still learning the ropes, who's still trying to build new relationships and learn about the culture and all of that stuff. Now there's certain duties, welcoming processes and ceremonies that happen that are very culture specific when it comes to umakoti, but the essence is that you spend time with your in-laws, you learn about the culture, their way of doing things, and you sort of like immerse yourself in their family and what their family means to them and all of that stuff. So that's Ukuba nguMakoti. So last year I reflected on the marriage itself, which was my husband and I. Now I obviously live with him, so I felt like I was in a position where I could share my thoughts and my lessons. But with my in-laws, I don't see them every day because they are based in Limpopo. So I thought I needed a bit more time to understand that area of my new life a bit more before I'm comfortable to say, okay, this is what has worked for me. This was what has not worked for me and my experiences. And you guys know I always want to get comfortable before I have any conversation. I don't like having conversations like J without experience or knowledge. So I felt like I needed a bit more time, and I needed to spend a bit more time there for me to really come back and say, okay, that's what's up in that department. And another thing is, if you are new, which a lot of you are, I am originally from the Eastern Cape and Ditatus Xhosa, and I grew up in KZN all my life. So I spent all my life in KZN, not Eastern Cape, even though I was born there and I went there often. And then I moved to Johannesburg for work purposes after I graduated, right? So it hasn't been a lot of years. It hasn't even been 8 years in Johannesburg. My husband is originally from Limpopo. He moved to Johannesburg in high school, I think, and he spent most of his life in Johannesburg, right? Prior to me moving to Johannesburg, I had never been to Limpopo. I had never heard of the Pedi culture. I knew nothing about the language. I knew nothing about what happens there. I was completely blank. The only time I got to experience that was through my husband, okay, and what he shared. Vice versa with him, he had never been to Eastern Cape. He didn't know much about the culture and all of that stuff. So he was also starting something new, okay? And lastly, for context, I feel like there's a lot of context here, guys, but I think it's important to be honest because it does factor in into like how long you take to accustom to a specific family or how long you take to blend in. I feel like those little things that I've just mentioned do play a part, or at least they played a part for me, because there was a lot that I didn't know. There was a lot that I was not familiar with, and I feel like that did play a part in how my journey basically worked out and progressed, right? Last thing is that we both come from very traditional and strict families, my husband and I. So we did not meet each other's, elders prior to getting married. So the first time I had a conversation with my husband's mom was my Lobola day, when Lobola had been done, dusted, paid, and completed. That's the first time I spoke to my mother-in-law. That's the first time I met her. And with him as well, he met my mom after everything had been concluded and the relationship started there. So this is 2 years ago. All of those things matter. So there wasn't like a preview, sneak peek into what they do there, what they eat, how they eat it, how they like it to be prepared, and all of that stuff. Before we actually started this journey, it literally started when everything came together. Okay, let me stop stalling, okay? So now that we have all of that context, let us begin. What are some of the things that I've learned from my Kotizaring journey that I have, I can share with you guys in terms of my experiences? The first thing is you have nothing to prove, okay? And I say this out of my personal experience and also the conversations that I've had with fellow new wives. We often build, and I think it's out of fear and anxiety, this perception of what people think of you, what they believe you are, what they've told themselves and each other about you, and we walk into that Kotizaring journey with that in mind, that they think I'm this and that, and I need to prove them wrong. I need to do this so they don't think I'm that, and people are normally like this. And let me make a practical example using my experience. Number one, I obviously don't speak the language, and I know the bare minimum in terms of greetings and stuff like that I picked up along the way, but I don't speak the language very fluently. So I already, because I substitute that with English, because they also don't understand Xhosa like fully, there's a bit of understanding. But if I really want us to hear each other clearly, I need to use English because it's sort of like the medium language. And already walking into this journey, I thought, I'm going to be that makoti that mixes English. They're going to think I'm bougie. They're going to think I'm model C. They're going to think I'm not good enough because I don't, speak their language or communicate in a way that everybody can understand. So I already walked in with that pressure on myself that I need to learn the language as quickly as possible because I don't want them to think this and that, And also because I am married into a traditional family, I also thought that the fact that, I'm a corporate girl who's like really about that corporate life and progressing in that area of her life, I don't want them to think that I don't care about the domesticated side of things. I don't want them to think ndingumfazi wephepha and all of that stuff. I need to prove that I know how to cook and clean, and I can be that wife, and I can thrive in those type of environments. And the list goes on, guys. I'm also from a different culture that they know nothing about and stuff like that. And I had also heard in conversation with colleagues prior to getting married that apparently in the north, Xhosa people are known for being very loud and confident and controlling and possessive and nje because of our personalities, I suppose. So all of that was in my head that, I don't want them to think this, so I have to do that, and I have to do this, and all of that stuff. And I realized in the journey that, you know what, that is not you. And that is not something that you have control over. And I'm speaking to those people who also marry as, the second wife, where your husband has been married before and he had a wife that everybody loved. And now you are coming into this relationship and you're trying to prove that you're better and you're kinder and you're more warm-hearted than her and all of the stuff. And the fact that you can also fill the shoes. You have nothing to prove to anyone. You are fine the way you are. Be kind because it flows from your heart. Be generous because it flows and it's an extension of who you are. But don't try and set a bar for yourself that you have to be this because of that. It puts you under unnecessary pressure. It's exhausting because you need to keep thinking, Uba, yo, Gabele, I mustn't speak too much English because of, or I mustn't be a certain way because of, and honestly, guys, in the midst of everything else that's happening, that's very tiring because there's a lot that is required of you organically. And now to add that pressure that you've placed on yourself as well is just going to drain you. You have nothing to prove to anyone. You are a good person, and that's going to show in the activities that you do and in the way that you treat them and in the way that, most importantly, that you love and care for them. And you shouldn't be putting yourself under pressure to basically erase things that you think are already in the air. So that's a mouthful, but you have nothing to prove to anyone. The second one is keep an open mind and be open to learning new things. During my wedding ceremony, one of the speeches that were given, someone mentioned that you are obviously a grown adult and you've grown up in a family that does things in a specific way, and you've grown to understand and get used to that way of doing things. But by no means does that mean that that way of doing things is perfect, or it has no faults, or it can't be challenged or reviewed or anything like that. Likewise, you'll find that the other family you're going into in the same light has also been doing certain things for many a years, and they have a reason for that, just like you have a reason. So don't be closed-minded to think, why are they doing this like this? We never do it like that. Like, oh my God, the way the family does this is completely different to mine. And, why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense. Don't be closed-minded to learning a different way of doing things, guys. Especially with us, we don't even have to be there forever. Like, that's what I always tell myself, that I am very open to, in Rome, do what the Romans do. Obviously, if I'm not committing murder or like contradicting my core values, that's a story for another day. Then I'm willing to adapt and embrace what the culture is like and what is being done when I'm in that place. I think it's all part of the relationship building and love sharing process, is learning each other's cultures, learning each other's traditions and what is being done. And I remember at my wedding, they also said, don't come in with that mentality of wanting to like flip the carpet, revolutionize, modernize, and all of those things because you feel that you are confident in that you know better. It will end in tears, trust me, because you are going to an unfamiliar environment, and that way, like, that's the way that certain things have always been done. And if you, before you form relationships and before you basically show people who you are and the fact that you come from a sincere place and from good intent, if you just start with wanting to question everything and change it, it's not going to help you in the relationship building department. Just be open to learning. I know that it's weird. The way they do that is weird because your family never does that. but they probably have a reason for that. And if you're in a supportive environment and in a supportive family, they'll probably explain why they do certain things in certain ways, and then you can understand better. And for me, I found that, our because like we are very different in the way that we do things. And this for me was a big lesson to try, and even though certain things are done in a different way, be like embrace it, and try to understand it. And it doesn't mean that you can't incorporate, guys, your own way of doing things. Right now I'm at that point where I've started doing that. I've started incorporating my way of doing things, just kancane kancane nje, like maybe we should, how about we, and then they're like, okay, that's not that bad. And then, but just be very patient about it when you do that. I think the most important thing, especially in the beginning, is to try and understand them better. Try and embrace what's happening there. Trust me, it will make your life easier. And what I've found in being open-minded as well is there's certain things that I now do the same way that my in-laws do it, even though at home they do it differently. Do you get what I mean? And my mom likes to laugh at me and say that when I was in EC and when I was with her and that side of the family before I got married, I used to tell them that I don't eat porridge because it makes me sick and I don't like the taste and blah 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 blah. And now I enjoy porridge so much that that's what we have for breakfast on Saturdays and Sundays in my own home. Brown porridge with milk and no sugar. That's me. I at home refuse to eat white porridge with sugar and butter. Now I eat brown porridge with milk and no sugar, and I absolutely enjoy it. And that just came from me trying something different, trying something that I've never experienced before, and then seeing where it goes, and it actually worked out for me. And now, like I said, I'm in a position where I've also started like putting in my own views and my own thoughts on certain things whenever the opportunity arises. But in the beginning, please be open-minded. Don't be married to your thoughts and your way of doing things, because it does cause friction. The third thing is I feel like if you forget all of the things that I've mentioned today, please remember this. Your partner's role in your journey is so important. I wanted to even risk it and say it's the most important thing, but I don't want to say that. And then in our list, I have something that I feel is more important. So let me just say that it is so, so important. Your partner's role is important, guys, because he or she has, all the context, right? When it comes to dealing with families. In this, like scenario now, I'll say he, because I'm talking about specifically UKUKOTIZA with your in-laws on the guy's side. So he has all the context of you and who you are and what your triggers are, your strengths, your weaknesses, a bit about even your background and where you come from and stuff like that. And he can actually use that to ensure that the environment you're in is not triggering, is not bringing flashbacks, is not causing you to, be prompted to act in a way that you wouldn't otherwise act. He's got that context and he can use it to the situation's advantage because he knows you. Also, on the other side, he's got the context of his family, which are your in-laws. He knows that, his mom is like this or his dad is like this, whether it's a good or bad trait. The point is he's got knowledge and he's got insight on that he can share with you, so that you have a view of what's coming. You have a view of how to better handle situations because of personalities and all of that stuff. And if that man is not using that to the situation's advantage, then I feel like you are on like a -5. It's so important for the guy to use both sides of the coin to really try and offer the best support to the entire situation. And also, guys, like he's playing for both teams. He is trying for both teams to win because he absolutely adores you and he loves his family. So he's best positioned to make sure that he's not selfish on either side, and he's using all of this context that he has for the betterment of the entire situation, right? Which is both you and the family. The other thing when it comes to the guy is that his part is so important, because I feel like to a certain extent, and I hope I'm not phrasing this incorrectly, but I'm just going to say it, right? And you can phrase it another way if you think it's not coming out right. But I think that he also, in a way, treats his family, or rather, he also, in a way, shows his family how to treat you. I think your husband shows his family how to treat you. The way that he treats you, the way that he speaks to you, the way that he shows up for you as his wife clearly sends a message out there to his family of how his wife can and should be treated, in my opinion. And if your partner is showing up for you, if your partner is assisting you, supporting you, defending you, being there for you, it like gives off a clear message of, even if people, guys, are not coming from a bad place, they just know that don't mess with her, because umyenwakhe will be on your back. Okanye that one is like an egg, magapatwa and all of that stuff. I know that it sounds silly, but trust me, it's a thing. For example, for my husband, when we are at home and he sees that I'm alone at home for whatever reason, and I'm busy with something and I'm trying to multitask, he will come to me and he will try to help me with doing the dishes, or he will try to like help around the house to make sure that I don't feel like this servant, or this person who now everything is their responsibility. And he doesn't necessarily do that all the time, but when there is a need to, and when he sees that I'm tired, because I'm human, I'm a human being, when he sees that I'm tired, he goes out of his way to make sure that he helps me lift the load. And he does that publicly, not in secret and not behind closed doors. And I think that the family can see that you're okay, when this lady is under pressure, she's supported and she's helped. And it also sends the message of, I can be helped, I should be helped. And he does things like, for example, if I've had a long day, he will because there is a lot to do, guys, there is a lot to do. If I've had a long day, he'll be like, do you want to take a drive, do you want to take a walk, do you want to just get some fresh air? And when we get away, even if it's not for a long period of time, and do that, I think it just sends the message of, what, at the end of the day, this is my wife, and I need to connect with her, and I need to, award her the opportunity to rest when she's tired, and all of that stuff. And other people feel very, okay, we can't like overwork this person and stress them out when the very person who brought them here is treating them like an egg. So guys, that for me is important. If you like are dealing with everything, and on the side the person who brought you here is not defending you, calling you out to rest and all of that stuff, I feel like it does add petrol to an already burning fire. So for me, that's one of the things that's like really pivotal. It's your partner's support in this entire journey and situation. The other thing is, this is the second last one, you don't have to be friends to get along or to be civil. You don't have to be friends to be family. When we build relationships, especially when we find people that are like in the same age group or whatever, or share similar interests, we tend to, because we want to build new relationships, and because we really want this thing to work, and we want to blend in and all of that stuff, you sometimes start forming relationships that become friendships, where, for example, now like you're going to the movies together, you're inviting each other out to picnics, now you're mixing your friends with your sister-in-laws or your cousins-in-laws or whatever, and then it's like a whole big party, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I think it's important to say that you don't have to go there to build good relationships. You don't have to see each other every day to build good relationships. You don't have to go out with each other's friends to build good relationships. In fact, I think in the beginning, that just adds more dynamics, if I can put it that way, to an already dynamic type of relationship, especially in the beginning. So I would actually start with a slow start, a steady start, and also not put yourself under pressure to merge all of the existing relationships that you have. I find that sometimes we do that because we want the relationship to grow faster, or we want the connections to be built faster. But you can't put time and speed to this thing, guys. It needs to happen organically, and you honestly don't have to be friends, and that's okay. You've got your friends, and with your friends you've got a certain level of understanding, and you've got certain interests and stuff like that. I'll make an example. I've got friends that are much older than me, that are probably to the age of my sister-in-laws, if not more. But in that friendship, when something happens and I'm uncomfortable, I'm able to call out that friend and have an honest, constructive conversation with them, knowing that we're either going to fix it, and if God forbid we can't, then that's that. But what you need to understand is that with the dynamic of a relationship, more especially an in-law, it's not that easy to just like call out people anyhow, because there's a certain level of respect that's expected. There's even a certain level of how you address the person that's also expected. For example, I know with me and my brother, in with my brother's wife, she calls me Usisi, even though I'm like a decade younger than her, but she addresses me as Usisi and not by name. And that's because of the role that I play in her life as her sister-in-law, because she's married to my brother. So now if we take that Sisi and build it into a friendship, and now we chomies, and we lose that, and next thing we argue in the friendship, and that overlaps onto the relationship, and it becomes a mess, guys. Trust me, it can become very messy if the lines are not clear, if they are blurred. Also know that now if there's conflict, there's family involved, and there's in-laws and all of that stuff, like, it's so unnecessary. It's honestly unnecessary. You can get along with people, you can spend time with them, you can build good relationships without having to make friendships. Like, you don't have to do that. If it happens organically, fine, but just don't think you are under pressure to do that if it's not happening, and force yourself through it, because I feel like it can do more harm than good if it ends up in a bad way. The last thing that I want to share is I've learned to be patient with myself and with the process. I am a perfectionist, or rather, like I like to call myself, I am a recovering perfectionist. I want to excel at everything that I touch and everything that I do. So I want to learn that language like the back of my hand. I want to master those dishes that I don't know. I want to learn to make makaku, even though I grew up making a totally different kind of pap. I want to be J. Do you get what I mean? And that doesn't happen overnight. That happens over time, and that happens like when you give yourself an opportunity to learn, but in a healthy environment, and you have patience. Have patience with the process, have patience with yourself. These people did not know you 2 years ago. I always remind myself that. Sometimes when I hear something, someone say something to me, and I'm a bit like, yo, okay, that hurt. I call myself back and I'm like, but did they really mean it in that way? Or am I catching feelings because of the situation, you know? And then I hear that, okay, that's how they speak to other people too. So it's not just me. Maybe it's a way of whatever. And I'm not saying, you know, excuse people for disrespecting you. That's unacceptable. But also just be patient with them. Be patient with the relationships. You're seeing these people every second month and every 3 months. And some people only go home to their in-laws once a year. Imagine if you're seeing a person once a year, how long did it take you to be close with your friend? How long did it take you to be close with your partner? How many situations did you have to go through before you can fully trust each other and be in that relationship? It took a long time, you know? So you're not going to see people now and again and just have this beautiful relationship of understanding that's got no conflict and no whatever. There will be you know, bumps here and there. There will be times where you question yourself and, you know, your role in the new family, whether it's you doing enough, whether they value enough, whether the chores are too much, and all of those things. But in that, please just be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace to understand that this is new. This is a new family. This is a new culture. This is a new way of doing things, you know, and vice versa. It's new for them too. Because sometimes you become so you know, self-centered about the fact that, oh my God, I left my family, it's all about me. You know, I used to be like that in the beginning. Oh my God, I left my family, I had to make all the changes, my husband has it so easy because we're on his side. I was like that in the beginning, but then I learned that, yo, this is new for him too. Coming home with a new person is new. He used to go home alone, you know, and in as much as it's new for me to have a mother-in-law, it's also new for my mother-in-law to have a daughter-in-law that is like me. So we both trying to thread very carefully on this ground and make it work. And I think that requires both of us, everyone involved, in fact, to give themselves grace, and most importantly, to give the entire process patience. There's no target, guys. There's no goal. There's no marks for this. It's not an assignment. It's not a project. It's people. It's feelings. It's real. And treat it with such, and treat it with grace, and treat it with patience, and it does get better. Like I said, I wouldn't have done this video 1 year ago because I was just trying to I learned this, and then I'm like, oh my god, I don't know how to do that. Then I'm like, oh my god, I burnt that, and I don't know how to, you get what I mean? Then you get freaked out when you're left alone for the first time, and you go through all of these motions. You meet new family members, and then you think you're used to this, and then you hear that and all of that stuff, and it can become quite overwhelming. But I really do hope that what I've shared from my journey and my experience does help you reflect on yours, especially to the people who are still in the beginning stages. I really do hope that it helps. And if not, I just hope you enjoyed the chat, man. Even if you are not becoming a nguMakoti anytime soon, or you don't plan to, I really do hope that you enjoyed the conversation. And if you did, please don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up. And if you are a makoti or have been through the process, please let me know in the comment section, how was your journey and what are some of the things that you took away, especially in the beginning, or what do you know now, actually, after a long period of time has passed. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.